what kinds of things did you most enjoy using during the year?
That's a great question. I think that this year was kind of graduating up to what I consider like big boy live streaming. So when the ATEM minis jumped on, I immediately bought one.
On New Year's Eve, just hours before the clock rolled over to 2024, I invited some of my YouTube friends onto my 9-hour marathon live stream for a quick chat. Here are some highlights from my conversation with Zephan Moses. Thanks for joining.
Thanks for
How?
having me. Thanks for experimenting and doing this live. And
Yeah.
kudos to you for running the whole show and being the show at the same time.
Thanks. Yeah. Oh, good. Everyone says they can hear you. So, welcome. Let's start with quick introduction. Who are you? And let people know about your channel.
Sure. Hey everyone, Zephan Moses, and that's also my channel name. And I do a bunch of live streaming stuff. So everything ATEM Mini, ATEM Mini Extreme, and if you follow my journey, it's kind of moved its way up to now the ATEM 2ME constellation, and playing around with a bunch of video gear and stuff like that.
That's awesome. Yeah, thanks. It looks like the lower third didn't work. Sorry about that. I don't know what
It's all
something
good.
went wrong with the transparency. But there is a link to your channel in the description, so people can go check out your channel there.
Cool.
Um,
Thank you.
and and it looks like you have a couple fans in the chat. David
Hey everyone.
says was just watching a video of yours yesterday.
Nice.
Awesome. Well, okay, so this is a New Year's Eve approaching 2024. So let's go think back to 2023. It's been quite a year. I was just
It
thinking about
has.
the start of the year, and things were different at the beginning of the year, obviously. So I'm curious, out of your last year of doing video streaming and YouTube content, what kinds of things did you most enjoy using during the year?
That's a great question. I think that this year was kind of graduating up to what I consider like big boy live streaming. So, I did a lot of live streaming over the last 7 or 8 years, working for other people and learning from other people. So using a lot of TriCaster stuff. And then when the ATEM minis jumped on, I immediately bought one. And so I think this was like the year of jumping to the big boy ones. So all SDI switchers, ATEM SDI Extreme, ATEM 2ME constellation, getting my PTZ cameras in place. So really just like solidifying a good setup that would let me do everything I want to do and also make me valuable for a lot of the people that I do work for. So that, if they say, hey, we're looking for someone who can live stream and run all the projector screens and confidence monitors, like I have all the gear now to do that. So that was probably the biggest shift equipment wise this year. But um, I would say another really big change was I actually got rid of a studio that I had for 3 years. So I had my own space, about 1,000 square feet, and I was crazy enough to take out a 3-year lease in the middle of COVID, and that lease ran out. So I ultimately decided to downsize for the time being. So that's another massive shift for this year.
That's a big change. So this space, is this your current studio space then for YouTube and things?
Yeah, this is a little home office for right now. So I'm from Baltimore, but I recently moved down to Virginia with my significant other, and so she and I share a 2 bedroom and a den condo, and so the den has kind of become my little live streaming room, minus like all the storage and junk you don't see just off camera here. And
Of course.
I'm basically studioless.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it looks good. So at least you still have a space you can work from. That's great.
Yeah, it works out well. And if I need a studio space, I'm very close to Washington, D.C., and so there's plenty of spaces to rent out if needed.
Mm. Yeah, yeah, totally. Okay. Well, that sounds like it's been an adventure every year for you then.
It has been. It's been, it was kind of weird going from like, I shared an office with somebody. I got my own office, built that up over 3 years, got rid of that office. So it's kind of like this weird roller coaster right now.
So, what would you say is the thing you're most looking forward to for next year? Either for your own space or just like gear that you're excited about?
Yeah, I think I'm looking forward to just figuring out how to like optimize and similar to how you do a lot of stuff all on your own. Like I've done everything from doing it on my own to having teams, but I'm kind of a minimalist fan, so I love being able to just like have all my own stuff show up and be able to run an entire show. Um, so
Hmm.
I had two PTZ cameras, the smaller Canon CRN 300s, and I just yesterday bought one of the 500s. So I'm kind of looking forward to building a setup that's more conducive to me just being capable of running a full show on my own without needing extra hands. And then this actually just came in the mail yesterday as well. I'm excited to play with this and to
Oh,
learn a
yes.
little bit more about these. So I bought two of the 2110 converters. I am completely tech challenged when it comes to networking, so it'll be fun to try to learn this a little bit. Um, but I'm excited to just try that out and figure out how that might be able to be almost like a fiber alternative for me, with three
Hmm.
channels going one way, three going the other. So that all kind of ties back into just the trying to be a little more minimalist, trying to just condense things a little bit, make it easier on myself, but still be capable of pulling off the same show.
Yeah, for sure. No, that'll be fun. I actually am also going to be getting the 2110 stuff in here to play with, and I'm looking forward to it. I think it's gonna. Yeah, I actually already did the 10 gig network upgrade in here, so I have now 10 gig
Nice.
switch in the rack, and we're gonna see how it goes to do
Yeah.
a 3 channel bidirectional link between here and the main house eventually. So
Oh, cool.
I think that'll be a good use for it.
And
Um,
how far is that run? I imagine you've got a cable that's got to go, what, at least a couple hundred feet?
no, no, the whole lot is 100 feet. So
Oh, okay.
the network closet here is about maybe 20 or 30 feet from the other network closet, and that will be a fiber line, which hasn't
Okay.
gotten run yet, but that'll be fiber. So there'll be 10 gig uplink between the two network switches. And then from that network closet into Lily's studio it's like another 5 feet or something. So,
Oh, that's great. So you could just
um,
run a few feeds over there
yeah,
or back to
I'm
you.
hoping, yeah, I'm hoping that the 10 gig link between the buildings will mean I can actually push video both directions. So we'll
Very
see. We'll
cool.
see if that works. It looks like you have a couple of questions in the chat. How much did you spend on converters going to the ATEM SDI? I feel like sorting out the frame rate and HDMI conversions I need to buy. I could have paid a couple of months of rent.
Yeah, great question. I always keep a minimum of at least three of the Decimator MDHXs in my kit. So regardless of what's going on, like I could always convert at least three cameras no matter what. Um, I probably have another three or four of the Blackmagic bidirectionals and maybe three or four of the Decimator LXs. So easily somewhere in the neighborhood of like 8 to 10 converters that are in my case at all times. But um, the once I got the PTZ cameras, their SDI output, they can also do NDI if you got an NDI decoder, but um, they don't need HDMI. My main cameras were a Canon C70, so the Canon cinema cameras, and that one doesn't have SDI out, so I always had to convert that one. Then I added in the Canon XA55 to have more of a servo zoom camera for like conferences, back of the room, being able to get like a medium shot of a speaker at a stage. So the C70 tends to stay like a wide shot that's locked down, but the XA55 being a more important tight shot that follows people, that has SDI output. So I never had to convert that one. I do have a couple of the EOS R the R level cameras, and so those are all HDMI, and they're not even full size HDMI, which is a little bit of a pain. But we can send a mini or a micro HDMI cable into one of those converters and then send it out. Um, so yeah, probably 8 to 10 different converters, but with them being the bidirectionals, as long as I can output the right frame rate, then I don't need the more expensive scaling ones.
Yeah.
And I can keep those for just computers and random odds and ends. I almost always put it between a computer just to have it there. I feel like it just makes life easier. But yeah, so I haven't had to spend a whole fortune on that. I was spending a whole fortune on like everything else because now I have 1,000 HDMI cables and it needed to become 1,000 SDI cables and not just, 6 foot, but 10 foot and 15 foot and 25 and 50 and 100. And next thing you know, I have some 200-foot reels because I don't want to put a 200-foot cable between just the ATEM and the monitor sitting right in front of it. So the more money was spent probably on just cables alone and like all of the storage and stuff to just transport it to the gig.
I know cables add up really fast. I feel like it's kind of annoying.
Yeah, I haven't really found I feel like I've been on the search for the best organization for it. I've just been using these red Husky bins from Home Depot. They're like waterproof. It has like a nice locking lid to it and you can get various sizes like 10, 20, 30 gallon. So they've been working out, but it still kind of stinks that I have to like sift through and like pull off the 100-footers just to find like a few 6-footers that are buried at the bottom. So I haven't figured out the solution for that yet.
Oh, here we go from John. I was trying to figure out if I needed the Decimator MDHX or if I could just get the Blackmagic up down cross. What's the difference? Oh, that's a good question. So I've never actually used the up down cross. I've never bought one of those. I've only ever used the Decimators, the ones with the scalars built in, or the Blackmagic like HDMI SDI converters, which don't do any scaling or frame rate stuff. So yeah, I would love to know like if you've tried those, what you think.
Yeah, I don't have one, but I've seen them and I've used them a couple times. The only reason why I don't really like them is they're not really a troubleshooting tool at that point. Because with the Decimator, at least with the MDHX, it's got a screen. So it'll show an H, an S, and a D. And the H is for HDMI, and it tells you what resolution and frame rate you're getting in the HDMI input. The S is for SDI and what resolution you have coming in, and D is for ducking for the down up converter, and it tells you like what scaled output you're giving. So to use that for troubleshooting is really good because I can see if, oh, this HDMI is already feeding me 1080p at 2997. I don't need to send it through the scaler. I can just go through the menu settings and reroute it all. But with the Blackmagic one, it's all these little tiny dip switches. And so you got to
Right.
like get in there with a pen or some tweezers or something and try to, toggle it all around. And I just feel like for simplicity's sake, when you're on a gig, you don't want to have to sit there and go like read the back of it where it has the diagram printed. And a lot of the times those diagrams start to like wear off over time too. So it's just a pain.
Mhm.
And after a year or two, like you won't even be able to see that diagram anymore. It's easier to just read it off the screen. And then one other thing that most people don't know about the MDHX is for troubleshooting reasons, you can tell it to output a color when it's not getting an input. So you can
That's
basically
cool.
find out if you have a busted cable or something because the decimator is going to output cyan or yellow or whatever you choose in the settings. And then you'll know, like, oh, I'm not getting a signal through this cable. Like something's not happening prior to it hitting the decimator. Just
Right.
make sure you set the time code to free run in the decimator. Otherwise, it won't output a color. But it's way beyond just a down up converter and scaling and having that screen to be able to see everything and just sift through the menus real quick. It's a huge lifesaver.
That makes a ton of sense. Yeah, I forgot about that feature that of the color output, but it makes a ton of sense. Whether trying to figure out whether the problem is a cable or the source is, yeah.
And for those watching too, there is a 4K version. It's similar to all the Decimator stuff recently. They're all kind
Hmm.
of sold out a lot, but there is a 4K version. And I recommend if you have the budget for it to go for those. I didn't at first. And now what's happening is like we're getting a lot of these guys with like the Sony A7Ss or like all these cameras that can output 4K and they want to record 4K internally. And certain cameras like have to output the same resolution that they're recording internally. So it's like if you're using
Yeah.
an HD switcher, you can't get that 4K feed in. So to have a decimator like this that can scale the 4K down for you, but still let them output 4K to their Ninja recorder or even just like in camera, those are a lifesaver. They cost a little more, but if you can, definitely go for those instead.
Cool. Cool. Well, we got a lot of fans of the decimators here. Gwen says I picked decimators over up down cross to avoid the dip switches. Yeah.
Yep.
Uh, Ryland's a fan of the MDHX. Oh, the big issue with the MDHX is it's been backordered for ages. Yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
you got to set those notices on B&H and they'll just notify you when it comes back in stock, or, set an alert on eBay too. Every once in a while you'll find random people just selling them on eBay for closing down
yeah.
shop or something.
TVJ says it's awesome. The GUI makes it a lot easier to configure. We have at least 8 of them. Yep, makes sense. They're great. Totally new topic. Are clients interested in the Instagram live now that the API is open? That is a great question. Have you been
That's a
getting
great
many requests
question.
for that?
I have not had a single request for that. But
Okay.
but I have to give the caveat. I'm
Okay.
located near DC. So a lot of my stuff is like political or scientific or educational, and it's in a space where they're not really thinking about targeting the audience that's on Instagram. So it could
Okay.
totally change this year. And I have my eyes on like the director mini. Like Aaron, I've watched your videos on that, and I'm kind of excited for some of these streaming devices that'll do that for us. But um I have not had a single request yet, but I think that it could be coming down the pipeline. So I'll probably have to familiarize myself a little bit. I just had my first request for going live to LinkedIn recently. So
Okay.
I think it's starting to spread around a little bit to other platforms, but I'm also kind of a working in a space where sometimes people are locking this down and using like Hopin or Blue Jeans or Big Marker or some other platform. So we're not necessarily always streaming publicly.
Totally makes sense. Okay. Oh, we have one more question on the Decimator, and then I think I will let you go. So,
Yeah.
David says, "What is the latency on the Decimator? Would it cause issues in an IMAX setting?" Also,
I'd
great
have to
question.
do a quick test to actually tell you, and I'm sure it's going to be different for every camera and setup and cable run. Um, most frequently the decimator is sitting in between computers for me. So it's at this point now that I've kind of upgraded and everything, it's usually just SDI runs right back to me. Um, I have not visibly noticed it, but then again, it also most likely won't be going on the main close-up camera of someone speaking most of the time. So
Hmm.
like we're going to try to avoid adding any latency there when we can, similar to what we would do with like a wireless transmitter. We just used a wireless transmitter on a gimbal camera the other day for like an award show, but we made sure that it was just like that camera shot was just kind of getting the walk up to receive their award. So it wasn't focusing on someone while they were talking. It wasn't in a area where we would notice if it's off by, 3 to 5 frames. But I don't think it introduces a whole lot, but that's a good topic. Maybe I'll have to do a video and do a quick little test and see what we get.
Yeah, yeah, that makes a ton of sense. I'm a big fan of using anytime you're using cameras that are going to have a delay, either because the camera has delay on its HDMI or because you're going over wireless or whatever, then use it in a way where the delay doesn't matter, like you said, because
Yeah,
you can't avoid the delay all the time. So just don't use it for a close up shot of them talking where it's going to look out of sync, and then you're fine.
right.
Um, so I will say on my table in the back there, you can't see it's just off frame, but on my other table, that monitor is actually going through the decimator because that is it was a super cheap monitor, which I now regret buying because it's one of the ones that does not accept 30 frames a second input. It only accepts 60. And normally, if you're plugging into a computer, it's no big deal because the computer will send 60 frames happily. But I have it plugged into the ATEM where I can change what's on the monitor. And sometimes, so I had to use a decimator to change the frame rate there. And I do use my computer on that monitor sometimes, and instead of just like as a confidence monitor. And when I do, I have noticed that using my computer is less pleasant because of the slight delay that gets added. It's really
Yeah.
minor, like it's fine. I think it's like a frame, but it's notable enough that like if I click on something or move my mouse, it just feels off. So when I did this desk, I did it differently where it's this monitor is actually plugged into the computer. There's like a splitter at the computer and it sends a copy straight to the monitor, not through the ATEM. And that way this one is not delayed at all because I'm mostly using this one. So I think it's a frame or two. I don't, but it's not like, it's not a ton of delay. It's not, yeah, it's a great little box. Before we have you go, can you do a quick description of your setup in the room there and how you're getting into this stream?
Yeah, absolutely. And I just built this, so a lot of it is still getting figured out and finished off. I wish I had another camera up over here to show you all, but I got a standing desk, so I can just press a button and raise it or sit it down as needed. I'm using a Varipole from Impact above me, and it's basically going like straight forward and back. There's a key light here. It's a Aputure F21X bicolor light, so it's mounted to the Varipole. And then behind me is the Aputure COB60X as kind of a hair light. Um, Camera setup, I have a Sony ZV-E10 on this like cool stand from Ulanzi that has all these arms and stuff. So along with the camera, there's my monitors. I have like a big 32-inch curved monitor and then like a vertical monitor on either side of the camera. So I can kind of move the zoom window just behind the camera so I don't have to look too far away right now. And then off of the Ulanzi arm is I'm using the Rode Streamer X as my capture device now. So it's a 4K capture device, HDMI out of the camera. And then Mike Shure MV7 on a boom arm over here, but I do also have on that Ulanzi stand. I'm just not using it right now. There's like a little deity shotgun mic just off frame here that I can kind of move around and raise or lower if I wanted to use that and have it totally hidden. I just prefer this mic right now since I don't have any carpet or real soundproofing in the room just yet. So it still sounds kind of like airy if I use that mic. But yeah, everything's just built into one desk, and then I've got a Mac Studio running everything, and AirPods right now. Just it was quick and easy to get some sound in my ears.
That's great. And so I just sent you a Zoom link. You joined a Zoom call like normal. So it's using your capture card into the computer to get into the Zoom, and then your Zoom mic is set to the microphone. Sorry, how did you say the microphone was wired into your computer through the Rode?
The mic's plugged in just individually. The Shure MV7 can do XLR or USB, so this is
Oh,
just
okay.
direct with USB. At some point, I might reroute that and get an XLR and go into the Streamer X, so it's all going through the same capture device. But this is just kind of a down and dirty setup for. I literally moved in here like less than 2 months ago, so this is just get things up and working and then perfect it as we go.
That sounds like a great setup. I do wish we had a behind the scenes camera now. So hopefully we'll get a
Yeah,
studio tour once you get things a little bit more put together.
I have an Insta360 camera here. I don't know if I can switch to it. Like, I don't want to screw up the zoom ISO, but, or you know what? I can
It might.
choose my iPhone camera, can't I? Do you want to experiment real fast? You got another minute
Sure.
before your next
Yeah.
guest? Let's see. I'm gonna try to select my iPhone camera. I don't know how this is going to work, but okay, here
Oh,
we
yeah.
go. All
There we
right,
go.
I'm gonna move away from the mic for a second.
There we go. So stand lights hanging from the ceiling. Oh, hair light and key light. Oh, nice. The same poles hanging the little bulbs.
Yep.
And yeah, vertical monitors are good. Oh, there's the road. Cool.
Yep. And then, so I can see you on my main monitor, but I kind of put you just behind the camera so you don't have to look too far.
Yeah. And
Streamer
for
X.
people who are watching, the reason that he's seeing a backwards version of himself in the monitor right now is because the zoom is showing what's on the my zoom is feeding back the program feed. So if I switch back to my camera really quick, we'll probably get, yeah, there it is. So you see the program feed in that window.
And then, so I just have the ZV-E10 here on the stand from Ulanzi. And then you can see there's the extra boom mic if I wanted to boom that overhead and use that.
Yep, that's
And
great. Yeah.
then there's another arm off the Ulanzi that's actually holding up the Streamer X. It just kind of wraps around behind this monitor over here. There we
There we go.
go.
Hey, that
That
was a
was
pretty good
easy.
little trick. That's using your iPhone as a wireless camera through
Yep.
the
So my phone's just
computer.
sitting right here and just went into the camera settings and it just says Zephan's iPhone camera. And then it popped up right here within half a second.
Didn't even cause any trouble with Zoom ISO either. So that's great.
Good. I
Good
was
to
kind
know.
of worried, if it's a different size or shape or
Yeah.
resolution, if it was gonna.
All right. Well, thank you so much. Thanks for joining.
Thank you. Yeah.
Um,
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, and yeah, have a great rest of the day.
Thanks for watching,
Bye.
everyone.